And then do you get a sign-in sheet going?
Yeah.
How is everyone doing today?
Fantastic.
Good. Well, welcome to commercial training. Commercial real estate. You know, one of the things that we're going to be learning now, this is 8 weeks. All right? We're going to go 3 weeks, there's 1 week of break, and then we're going to go 5 straight weeks afterwards, okay? And this is probably one of the most comprehensive commercial trainings that you're going to have. To give you a preview of the things I'm going to teach, all right, we're really going to touch the surface of everything. In commercial, one of the things that you're going to find out is a lot of people in commercial, they specialize, okay? And you're going to find that out. Some people are retail experts. You'll hear guys like, Chris Campbell, Scott Caruth. Those guys are retail guys, okay? And there's guys who are office, industrial guys. There's people who are just gas station guys, okay? There's people who are land development guys. There's people who are leasing experts, okay? So one of the things that you're going to see is a lot of people in commercial, they find 1 or 2 things that they're very good at, and they specialize in that. And then you have those guys that do general commercial. Okay, they do general, a little bit of everything, but they have income coming from all different directions. All right. So in this course, we're going to touch on. Okay, in this course, we're going to touch on all the different aspects of commercial real estate. We are even going to touch on the commercial financing aspect of it too. Does it make sense? We're going to touch on because we are licensed in mortgage here as well. So we're going to touch on both the real estate portion and we're going to touch on the financing portion. But what you're going to like is that the reason why I'm touching on everything is so eventually you decide that, there is a niche for me. There is something I'd like to work on the commercial side of things. Okay? And if that's the case, great. There was a deal that one of our agents just closed, and it was a Bay Area deal. It was a $5.4 million warehouse. Run down, beat up, fixer-upper warehouse. You can find those everywhere. Okay? But $5.4 million, you know how long it took to sell it?
2 years.
2 years?
6 months.
Technically, probably a day. Technically a day. We had half a dozen people with cash offers fighting. We had to go through 3 rounds of offers. The 3 rounds. We had a first highest and best, but then they asked us to do 2 more highest and best rounds. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and I had to stop at some point. Man, we just got to stop. And yeah, it was and this person made $200-something thousand on a deal. That took us a day to sell. Really. But that's commercial for you. For example, one of my good buddies who we were with, just so you know, my commercial background is I was with Coldwell Banker Commercial like 20 years ago. All right, so a lot of the commercial guys you see now are guys I came up with. Okay, I did primarily commercial for a lot of my career as well as residential. So because of that, I know commercial very well. I know commercial development. I developed this whole center here. I built it. I own it. So the thing is, I remember my good friend. He got set for life. He got set for life. Some 10, 12 years back because he did commercial real estate. What did he do? Well, him and a friend of his who was a builder, they got in good with Starbucks. So you know what they do? See, Starbucks, they're looking for an ideal location. So they do build-to-suits. You know what a build-to-suit is? A build-to-suit is that they research and they find the best area with the best demographics, that a Starbucks would need. Because Starbucks, they're smart. They have their parameters. We want to be in an area that has this many people, that these people have to make at least this amount of income, but now the parameters is anywhere, everywhere. We want to be on every block. You know what I'm saying? So you know what they do? They find locations that are suitable for Starbucks. They buy the location, they build the location, and then they lease it to Starbucks on a long-term lease. And of course, if you lease it to a Starbucks, there's people that follow Starbucks. Jamba Juice follows Starbucks. There's companies that want to be always next to a Starbucks. So have you ever sort of noticed that wherever there's a Starbucks, there's a Jamba Juice not too far away? Yeah. Right? They follow each other. So these people, you know what they do? They'll buy a piece of property for $500,000. They'll spend $1.5 million they'll spend $1.5 million to build this shopping center, tiny little retail strip, because they already have Starbucks in their pocket. The moment that they buy the land, they already have a pre-lease with Starbucks already. So they'll build a drive-through for Starbucks. They'll build exactly what Starbucks needs, ingress, egress. They'll build it all the correct way. And then, so the moment they build it, the moment they lease it to Starbucks and so forth, boom, it's worth $5 million. They'll take it, they just spent $2 million, then now it's worth $5 million. They'll turn around and go to one of the big-time REITs. They'll go right to the big-time REITs. Okay, and the REIT will buy it at a 5 cap. Or a 4.5 cap. The REITs will buy it at a 4.5 or a 5 cap. And so they'll straight out, turn it around, flip it for $5 million, go on to the next one. They'll do 20 or 50 of these, 20 to 50 every single year. And there's $3 million in every single one of them. Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. You see, that's the commercial world. It's a lot higher level real estate than residential real estate. Okay, you won't be seeing a lot of red fins and purple bricks popping around in that type of industry. Does it make sense? Okay, because it's a lot higher level real estate. Does that make sense? In commercial, if you do it right, you build your own wealth. You have a plan, you can build your own wealth. You're not depending on first-time home buyers. You're not depending on people looking to move or here and there. You're actually, commercial is all about business. Does it make sense? So you're going to learn about that. You're going to learn about, how cap rates, just to give you a preview in the class. You'll learn how guys like Sperry Van Ness or McCall Hughes and one of the big guys in town. I'm sure you heard of Ethan Conrad, right? You know that he's like a one-man team. Except he'll buy like 50 buildings every single year. Ethan Conrad is a person. There's only like 3 or 4 people in his company. You know what he does? You know what he does?
He's a developer. He has a nice house.
No, he's not really a developer. He buys fixer-uppers. Have you ever heard of people in residential do fixer-uppers?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's just basically a fixer-upper. He's just a fixer-upper. He buys underperforming properties. He fixes them up and he gets them to perform. That's what he does. Does it make sense? Because in real estate, in commercial real estate, you're going to learn, that money is all about cap rates. A cap rate is capitalization rate. And you're going to learn about how to calculate cap rates and net operating income and debt service coverage ratio. We'll be going over all that kind of stuff. I'll give you an example. Okay? You take a building, okay, let's say you take a building, a 10,000 square foot building, okay? You take a 10,000 square foot building and you rent the building out for, let's say you rent the building out for $1 a square feet, okay? Then quickly, a good commercial agent, someone who understands commercial, could actually take out a calculator. As long as he knows what the rents are, which is the income, as long as he knows if it's a triple net or a gross lease, let's say it's triple net, and as long as he knows, roughly an idea of how good the area is, I'll know how much the building is worth. I'll give you an example, okay? So these are the things that you'll be able to do after the class. So I could take a 10,000 square foot building that rents out for $1 a foot. That's $120,000 a year. And let's say it's not in a very good area. Then an area that's not so good is like an 8 or 9 cap. Okay? So let's say it's a 9 cap. It's called a capitalization rate. It's how much money someone is looking to make from their investment. Does it make sense? So if I take a 10,000 square foot building with a $1 net lease on it, okay, a 10,000 square foot building with a $1 net lease on it, then at a 9 cap, the building, okay, is worth $1.3 million times 0.95 for vacancy, $1.3 million. That's what the building's worth, $1.3 million roughly.
So how'd you break that down again?
No, and you'll learn it. You'll learn it. I'm not going to go over math today. But I take the same exact building. So guys like Ethan Conrad, they'll go into a building that is underperforming, where the leases and the rents are a little bit low, because the building needs some TLC. Okay? And he'll buy the building, a 10,000 square foot building somewhere, at a 9 cap for $1.3 million. Okay? At the same time though, okay, he will then buy the building, fix it up, put new concrete, put new asphalt, put new stripes, paint the building, put on a new roof, spend a couple $100,000, $300,000, $400,000 on it. But then all of a sudden, he's able to get better tenants in there. And let's say the tenants in there are willing to pay $2 a square feet. Really, the area is all comped at $2 a foot. These guys are leasing at $1 a foot because why? Because they have these old tenants and the building's all run down, right? So he comes in there and he's able to get $2 a foot. So he's able to get $2 a foot on 10,000 square feet. He's able to get $20,000 times 12, which is $240, $95 for vacancy. And then you know what? Because he has better tenants, this investor of his, these investors of his all the way to New York who runs these big time insurance companies, they're the conduit financiers, they're the people that handle the big real estate investment trust, the big REITs who have multi-billions of dollars to spend. They love these tenants that Ethan puts in there. These are what they call credit tenants. A credit tenant is a Starbucks. A credit tenant would be a Walgreens. A credit tenant would be some big name, maybe publicly traded company that will never stiff you on rent. Does it make sense? Maybe he puts a government user in there. Does it make sense? Because a credit tenant, their cap rate is out in the 6s, maybe in the 5s and a halves. If it's government, you're at a 4. If it's McDonald's, it might even be 3.5. That means the people that buy buildings that have the government in the building, they're happy with a 4% return. It's better than the 2% return you get from a CD. Does that make sense? And it's guaranteed. You have a McDonald's in there, it's guaranteed. Does that make sense? It's more guaranteed than U.S. Treasury. Does that make sense? You have government, it's guaranteed. Does that make sense? You guys get that? You have Mr. Mom and Pop Nail Salon, it's not guaranteed. Does it make sense? So remember, in commercial real estate, the strength of your tenant makes a world of difference on the value of your building. Okay? So he'll go in and buy a building. He'll go from $1 net to a $2 net. He'll go from $120,000 a year in rents to $240,000 a year in rent, minus vacancy. But there's one more bigger factor, is that you don't have to sell it at a 9 cap. You could get a 6 cap on it. And that's not even the best tenants. That's not government, which is like in the 4s. It's not McDonald's, it's also in the 4s. It's not like a Starbucks, which is in the 5s. Let's say he gets it at a 6 cap. So I divide it by 0.06. The building worth $3.8 million. See, we work in a world where if we know the numbers, You could pick up things at 1.4, 1.5 million, put $500,000 into it, and you're $2 million sunken into it, but you could turn around and turn it into a $3-4 million building like that. Does that make sense? That's the world of commercial. People that understand that world in commercial, people that understand that world, money is made almost as if you're printing it yourself. Because all you have to do is find a system behind it. Does it make sense? All you have to do is find a system. Okay? You know, trust me. There are guys who represent big-time shopping centers or big-time malls. You know, one guy in Roseville is one of the top brokers in the entire world. Palmer Capital. Okay? And Palmer Capital, let me show you what one person can do when it comes to commercial real estate. Okay? Okay, they're here in Sacramento. So Palmer Capital. Okay? Show you who their clients are. Maybe you recognize some of them. Ace Hardware. These are a list of all their clients. Boeing, you know, CalPERS, Citibank. This is one company, and these are their clients. Okay, these are all their clients. Would you like to have a list of clients like that? JP Morgan. These are all their clients. Look at that. Take me a minute just to scroll down. Okay? Let's look at their transactions. $2.6 million square foot building. So it's not a $2.6 million building. It's a 2.6 million square foot building. Okay? This is a 1.5 million square foot building. This is a 1.4 million square foot building. Every single one of those buildings are probably in the $40 to $100 million range. Imagine making 6% of each of those deals. And they have hundreds and hundreds of deals like that. And they're right here in Sacramento. Okay? And so here's the exciting thing about this business, just so you know. The exciting thing about this business is Berkshire Hathaway only launched its commercial division only a couple of years ago. Only launched. Berkshire Hathaway are recruiting brokers like me who know commercial. That's why I have the commercial Berkshire Hathaway as well. We have Berkshire Hathaway commercial division. We're officially commercial with Berkshire Hathaway. Because this is what I feel. This is what I feel. Palmer Capital is a local name. It's not even a worldwide name like C.B. Richard Ellis, Cushman and Wakefield. You know, it's not a big name like JLL. You know, like Colliers. You know, like NAI. It's not one of the big national names yet, but Berkshire Hathaway happens to be the number 3 brand in the world. So what Berkshire Hathaway said was, if only the people that Berkshire Hathaway has ownership in, if you took all the companies that Berkshire Hathaway has ownership in, okay, and they just simply used Berkshire Hathaway as their real estate company, we would be the number 1 commercial brokerage in the world. So that's why this coming year I'm making a huge push to getting our agents to start representing Berkshire Hathaway for commercial as well. Does it make sense? We've already become the number 1 real estate company in the world for residential. Now the next step for Berkshire Hathaway is to become the number 1 real estate company in the world for commercial as well. Okay? And they said, if the companies that Berkshire Hathaway, these are lists of assets owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And you have a whole list of companies, hundreds of them, that Berkshire Hathaway owns. Some you don't know, some you know. Duracell batteries, Geico Insurance, See's Candies, all these companies, NetJets. But there's a whole list of companies where Berkshire Hathaway has a really good interest in, okay? Which are public trade companies like Amazon, American Airlines, Apple, Bank of America, Costco, Delta Airlines, DaVita, General Motors, Goldman Sachs, Coca-Cola, Heinz, Southwest Airlines, MasterCard, Procter & Gamble, all these companies, U.S. Bank, Verizon, Wells Fargo Bank. So these are the holdings of Berkshire Hathaway. So they said at the conference, only if the companies that are owned wholly or partially by Berkshire Hathaway just uses our own real estate company for real estate, we'd be the #1 commercial company in the world. So the thing is that, and on top of that, when you're dealing with, $5, $10, $20, $30, $40 million properties, you got to have a brand behind your name, or else they're not even going to touch you. Does that make sense? So what you're going to be learning here is priceless information. It's priceless information. Okay? But whatever you learn in your head, you're going to have to go out there and practice it. You know that I've taught this class before, and this person who did commercial real estate took the class, and she had just got done paying $40,000 for a commercial training class where she spent like a week somewhere, whatever. And she took the class and said, this class is better because it's taught by someone that did it. Does it make sense? It's not taught by a book. So pay close attention to class from now until the time that that the class is done. Hopefully you're going to find something you really like about commercial real estate and choose to start, practicing some of that. Doesn't mean that you don't do residential. Of course you do residential. But I'll tell you this much, start working with commercial clients and those type of people. All of a sudden the homes that you deal with are all in the millions of dollars. Make sense? The listings that you deal with are all in the millions of dollars. You work with a higher level client when you understand commercial. Does it make sense? Because those are the clients that own their own companies. They're the CEOs of these big companies. They're the presidents, vice presidents. These are the type of people you work with. Does it make sense? And if you start running in those circles of people, then you have no choice but to start working with those type of people as your clients. Does it make sense? Okay? So let's go ahead. That's an introduction. I hope you guys are excited about commercial. Okay? And let's just go ahead and get the class started. All right. So is this it? Okay. All right. Okay. So this is more of an introduction. Okay, this is going to be more of an introduction here. So let's go ahead and let's get started here. All right. So in this class, we're going to sort of get down and really get down and dirty into this industry. Okay, we're going to really get down and dirty into this industry, and so that's why it is 8 weeks. Okay. I'll take a roll each and every week, and at the end of the course, there is a final for the class, okay? All right, you cannot do commercial in our company because, remember, we're in real estate. We got to cover you for E&O, and you do not want to get sued and not be covered under E&O on a $10 million transaction. Does that make sense? It will set you broke, okay? So once we've certified you here, then we do a separate addendum that we add to your residential contract where it allows you to do commercial. Okay? Your first 3 deals that you do in commercial, either myself or one of our experienced commercial people, we work with you on those deals. You cannot screw up. Does that make sense? We're in a deal where you cannot screw up. I mean, I've seen land deals where the agent didn't do it right, they didn't do the proper phase 1 investigations, phase 2 soils reports, and they end up finding contamination, and the $10 million deal, the land's worth nothing. I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you an example. in something like that. Okay, I'll give you an example in something like that. Okay. All right. You know, one of the things that you cannot mess up in real estate is you cannot mess up in your studies. You know, in real estate. You know, there was a piece of land that was right here in Natomas. And there was a piece of land that was right here in Natomas. And this was the river. This was the river. Okay? Right here was Westlake development. Westlake. You know, that's the big Westlake development in Natomas. Okay? There's like 500 homes here. Okay? This piece of land just sold for, I think, $7 million. Okay? One of my buddies, he bought this piece of land from a retired military guy for $1 million. And Westlake just came in, and here's the road. Here's the road, and this is another big development, huge development. This is the development, this is like the commercial development in the Natomas. So when he bought this piece of land right here for $1 million, man, he thought he hit the jackpot. He thought he hit the jackpot. He got riverfront property here. He got riverfront property here. Man, this property just sold for $7 million. He just bought this for $1 million. This one's worth hundreds of millions because these are homes already. So, bought it, paid for it, closed on it, thought he got the deal of the century. Make sense? Thought he got the deal of the century. Didn't go ahead and do the proper studies. It turns out, it's probably worth nothing. Turns out, it's probably worth nothing. Huh?
Can't develop.
It wasn't wetland. It wasn't wetland either. You know, normally, you know, there's on land there's animals, and if there's certain animals that are protected, they're on your land, then you can't develop on it. Matter of fact, there's certain types of birds, like owls. You know, they're endangered species. One time there was a $200 million development going on, and in one of they found a nest with an owl in it. But the owl is a protected species. It stopped the project for 3 years until the owl decided to move. Man, if it was in Vietnam, it would have eaten the owl. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? You know? But it's just the way it is. You know, I mean, like, for example, there's certain oak trees. You buy a piece of land, you want to build a house on it. There's an oak tree there, you build a house around the tree. You don't cut down the tree. Okay? So that's how real estate works. Well, this property sold for $7 or even $10 million. They bought it for $1 million. They thought they hit a home run. They thought, man, I just got a home run. This property is $7 million. This property $1 million. Westlake is here. Huge shopping centers there. He was thinking he was already cashing in his chips, man. I'm going to sell it for $10 million because this has riverfront property, right? This is not even riverfront. This is all river. Right onto the river. Guess what? Property ended up being worthless. The first thing that happened to the property is landlocked. It's landlocked on all sides. The only ingress and egress was right here. There's something very important in development, is that it's the ability to bring in fire trucks and bring out fire trucks. If there's a big, massive fire like the one in Paradise, that people can get out. Does that make sense? People can escape. There's only one way in, one way out. If something happened here and a fire went this way, everyone's dead. Does that make sense? Okay? Huge problem, ingress and egress. This already built out, this already built out, already zoned. They're not going to carve 100 houses and tear down 100 houses to make room for you to go into your land. You're not going to build some kind of teleportation system that teleports you to your house and back out. You know, you're not going to sell 1,000 little paddle boats. So every time you want to go to your house, you park all the way down here and take paddle boats to your house. Does that make sense? So the first thing about it is locked in. But even if they created a situation where he paid $3 million to this guy for this easement right here, Let's say he bought this whole easement here so he could build a new street here so everyone could get in, right? So there's another egress here, another ingress, egress here. Even when it did that, guess what? The area was already built out. There's not enough water to put in another 500 homes. So the problem is not only with the geography of it, but the problem is with the utility of it. The Thomas was out of water. In order to get enough water to feed 500 homes, they'd have to dig an underground tunnel buying water from West Sacramento. Then you would have to hire submarines, submarine people to build underground pipelines to West Sacramento, where that's the closest available water that could feed another 500 or 1,000 homes that you want to develop. Does that make sense? Matter of fact, they've already reached capacity on police, school district, and for fire district. Because areas only have so many firefighters in an area. And the firefighters are only supposed to service a certain number of homes. What if, there's 3 fires that got started at the same time? It does happen during forest fire season, and there's not enough firefighters to service 3 areas, and people start dying. And the government was responsible for allowing you to build an extra 1,000 homes, but we don't have enough firefighters in the home. Can you imagine the lawsuit? We just put PG&E in bankruptcy because of one fire. Does it make sense? So this land was worth nothing. You couldn't get to it. You couldn't get out of it. You couldn't get water to it. There wasn't enough schools. There wasn't enough fire. There wasn't enough police to service that land. So guess what? Right now, till this day, and that was like 15 years ago when he bought it, till this day, it's still just a piece of land. I bet you in your life you've driven down areas, you've seen these big, wide pieces of land, and you think to yourself, they're right next to shopping centers, you think to yourself, I wonder why they don't just turn that into a shopping center. Have you ever thought about that? Like, there's a huge piece of land, it's flat, it looks good, and you ask yourself, I wonder why they haven't turned it into a shopping center. Well, now you start getting an idea of that answer. Why? Does it make sense? Putting anything up, tearing anything down is a whole process to it. There's a lot of moving pieces. Does it make sense? Yeah. So I hope you're ready to take good notes, because I'll tell you something. This is how I teach. You'll see 6 words on the screen, but I will say 30 minutes of lecture on 6 words. Does it make sense? Right? So taking a screenshot of 6 words is not going to do anything for you. So take good notes, okay? Take good notes and write down the things that you get from lecture, because it's not all going to be on these slides, okay? It's not all going to be on these slides. All right. Because I'm going to expand a lot with just words. Yes? Yeah, if you have questions, if it's a quick question, then raise your hand and I'll call you. But don't blurt the question out in my classes, okay? Because sometimes it makes me lose my train of thought. All right? So I lose my train of thought and then I'm backtracking. So, but if you do have a question and then I look at you and I nod, then you know that I know you have a question. You put your hand down. You don't keep it up for 30 minutes because it might take me 30 minutes to get to you. If not, if I'm on a roll and I don't answer questions, then you can ask me at the end of class. Just write it down, okay? And I always give you a little bit of time, like 5-10 minutes, towards the end of 1 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, and then I'll give you some chances to ask questions. All right. Okay. So let's move forward here. All right. So these are more of the things that we're going to cover as commercial leasing, commercial development, property management, final review. So some of the things I'm going to cover in class, you gotta be able to do it from experience. So for example, on one of the days in class, we're going to sit down and I'm going to break down with you how to do letters of intent. Okay, letters of intent for leases, letter of intents for purchases. In the commercial world, you just don't write up offers and send it to people. Does that make sense? Everything starts with an LOI. You receiving the LOI or you sending an LOI, everything sort of starts with LOI. Does that make sense? And then, so in real estate, you know how we counter back and forth and do all that stuff? For commercial, because the things that are on the contract are so important, and we're working with such big numbers, we don't want to paper trail 10 different counters. Does that make sense? So we use the LOI process. We use the LOI process as the counter. Does that make sense? Like normally what happens is that you do the LOI and you send them the LOI on a Word document. They'll take your LOI and they'll redline your own LOI and send it back to you with the red line. Then you blue line it and you send it back to them. And it goes back and forth that way until all the terms are made. And then one of you will draw up the whole contract, or you'll have an attorney do it. Like for example, if deals are like less than $10 million, then normally we write up the contracts. But if the deals are in the tens of millions of dollars, we also get a third-party attorney to write up the contract. Does it make sense? Okay, we get an attorney to write up the contract.
So when you're doing a counter, you just do a red line.
Yeah, you LOI back and forth.
The same one, you just read.
Yeah, you just redline it, you see, yeah. So normally, when they send it, if you're experienced, then you say, hey, I've sent you the Word document of the LOI for you to go ahead and use as your notes and redline back to your comments back to me. And then they know, oh, this guy's pretty experienced. Does that make sense? Or one day they'll ask you, hey, can you send me the Word document so we can redline it back to you? That's okay. You know what I'm saying? But that's pretty common, yes.
So what's the difference, like red line and blue line? Like I heard you.
No, so it's different colors.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Really just
Kind of like the first
Yeah,
thing
so you can sort of tell, you know, like,
blue.
yeah, so like normally they'll red line it and then we blue line it back, so you pick the colors, you know what I'm saying? Or you just keep it the same color.
I have one LOI right now, got a red line, I guess.
Yeah, so did they send it to your listing?
They send it to my.
Yeah, so to ask them for the Word document format and they just red line it out and send it back to them.
They already send it to me.
Yeah, in the Word document, right?
Oh, not in the Word. They just
Yeah,
send
if they send it to a PDF, say, hey, send it to me in a Word document so I can redline my comments and send it back to you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that's the types of things that we work in, you know, and so I'll be able to show you how to do, you know, the proper LOIs. Because see, if you're in an LOI situation and you don't know what to counter back and forth, you know, you don't know what to counter back and forth, you look pretty silly. You know, I remember, you know, like 20 years ago, I remember my very first lease, you know, that I was working on. I called the broker, you know, from CB Richard Ellis and asked them, I said, hey, you know, my client's interested in leasing your property. And he started asking me questions. So what kind of TIs are you looking for? At the time I didn't understand what you're talking about. You know? And I didn't want to tell him I don't know what a TI is. I said, yes. I thought it was electricity. Yeah, we need electricity. So what? No, tenant improvements. What are they looking for tenant improvements? And then instead of asking, well, how are you going to deliver it? You know, if you deliver it in a vanilla shell, or you can deliver it cold, how are you going to deliver it? It's like a pizza, you know what I'm saying? How are you going to deliver it? And then so I just threw out a number, 40. He goes, 40? You know this is vanilla, right? What? Oh, yeah, no, oh, okay, 60. I went, oh, you know, what? No, if they deliver it to you in a vanilla shell, it costs them like $40 a foot. So normally, if you ask for anything, the maximum is like $10. You know what I'm saying? And I said 40, and then he said, what? I said 60. It's like, and then so he straight out said, are you new? Are you new? That was like 25 years ago. You know, yeah, I guess. You know, so the thing is that, so we'll go over all those types of things, okay, on an LOI and how long to ask for certain things and your due diligence period and what types of inspections that you do on a commercial transaction. You know, it's funny because in the commercial world, it's different than in the residential world. In the residential world, there's hundreds of disclosures that are built to protect the consumer. Make sense? In the commercial world, there's none. There's really none. In the commercial world, you know, everything is different. All the inspections are different. The things you do are different. In a way, it's easier, but in a way, there's not much protection for your buyer. So when you're representing your buyer, you know, it's a buyer beware type of deal. Your buyer is responsible for doing their own investigations. There's really not a seller SPQ or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So, the seller tells you what they know or they tell you nothing. And it's up to you to go find out for yourself. Make sense? And the crazy thing though is when you're in commercial, every little mistake could cost you millions. Every little mistake could cost you millions. Okay? Like for example, good thing we found it is, on one of the buildings we just sold, the warehouse used to be a dry cleaning, an old dry cleaner, industrial dry cleaner. Well, when you're dealing with gas stations and dry cleaners, and people don't realize that dry cleaners are almost one of the worst types of businesses to have on a piece of property environmentally. It's not necessarily a gas station, it's dry cleaners. You know why? Tell me why.
Contamination.
Because of all the chemicals they use to dry clean a property, clothing. Because, like wet cleaners, they use water and soap. Dry cleaners use chemicals. And dry cleaners, like for example, the chemicals over years and years, it seeps into the ground. So and you can't dig 100 feet down and try to get it all out. So guess what you have to do? You have to build barriers. You have to build a whole barrier underneath using vents, like air conditioning system, using vents to remove any kind of air that's coming from the ground up, seeping into the building. And if you don't know about that, and you have someone in the building, and they somehow start getting sick and nauseous and develop some kind of illness, they sue you for millions of dollars if you knew about the contamination. So they have to do all types. So to do that, you're not doing a normal phase 1 environmental, you're doing a phase 2. A phase 1 environmental tests for any kind of contaminations, but a phase 2 not only tests it, they go deep into testing it and seeing how it can be remediated. A phase 2 could cost $50,000 to do a phase 2 environmental, whereas a phase 1 costs around $2,000 or $4,000. You see? So gas stations, and this was just an old warehouse. No one would have thought. It was used as an office for the last 25 years. But when they did the study and they went all the way back, said, hey, this was a dry cleaning place. And so when they found out it was a dry cleaning place, then they did the phase 2, and then they found, contamination. To remediate the contamination, it was like $600,000-$700,000. Does that make sense? So you go in there blind and you find out you bought something, you thought it was great, and then all of a sudden your piece of property is contaminated. Worst part is the contamination. If it goes into the public water system, then you got to clean it up for yours and all the properties that the water goes down. Does that make sense? So that could be millions. So if you're a buyer and you're buying something, you might be inheriting a $20 million fee. Does that make sense? You could be inheriting that. So you bought it. The moment you buy it, you inherit it. In Marysville, there's this old hotel. I don't know if anyone knows Marysville, but they're right on the main street in Marysville. There's this huge hotel that's been sitting vacant. This is huge. This hotel's like, 8-9 stories high. It's the size of a city block. Talking about probably 1 million square feet there. If you wanted that hotel, you could have it probably for free. But the moment you buy that hotel, you inherit $30 million and stuff. And tear down and stuff like that. Does that make sense? See, so that's how commercial sort of works. Okay? So in commercial, buyer has to beware. Okay? I have a listing right now that I'm helping one of the agents do, and it's a listing in Lodi. And the tenant who wants to go into that building, is a company that treats meth patients. Okay, and the buyer, not tenant, the buyer is a type of business that treats meth patients. Now all the neighbors and the landlord are fighting to get this contract stopped. Okay, huh? Yeah, I don't know. So that's how commercial works. Okay, so in commercial, we're going to go through all types of things. Now, at our company, we don't do any type of property management, but we do leasing for commercial leasing. Okay, For example, commercial leasing is actually a very, very profitable type of business. Commercial leasing is a very, very profitable type of business. You know why? Is because people don't realize is you make about as much commission on a lease than you do on a sale. It's not much different. One of our agents just completed a pretty fat lease, and it's a pretty common lease. It was a 4,000 square foot restaurant. They have a Chinese style Thai fusion type of restaurant that they leased in the Elk Grove area. But Elk Grove retail leases are at around $3 a foot retail. So they lease 4,000 square feet at $3 a foot. You're looking at around $12,000 a month in rent. Well, what people don't realize is that a lease is simple. I mean, we put in an LOI for the lease. Once the LOI and improvements are agreed upon, then the landlord sends us the lease agreement and the client signs it. That's about it. And the client starts doing their tenant improvement work and gets in. Well, I mean, what people don't realize is, you make around 3%. So the question is 3% of what? Yeah, the 3% of the whole term of the lease. So if you're looking at a $12,000 a month rent times, in this case, this was a 5-year lease. So it's a 60-month lease. It's a $720,000 transaction. Because it's $12,000 a month for 60 months. Make sense? With escalators, meaning, like rent increases. Okay? But it's actually 60 months of base rent, the first base rent, which is $12,000. So 3% of that, $22,000 commission. For very little paperwork. It's like, how sometimes you feel bad because you take a client to a new home builder. You go with them that very first time, you sign that one little paperwork. 7 months later, you get a commission.
What about the option?
There's no file to turn in. What?
Yeah, what do you count the options or just the first option?
No. It's on base price. You don't get commission on options.
But you can sell it then, right?
Huh?
But then you can sell it.
Yeah. So the thing is that the lease ended up being a $20-something thousand commission. Well, like some big time agents, they represent companies that are always opening and expanding. Does that make sense? Like, let's say if you represented, a local dentist that's expanding, if you represented a local restaurant, like for example, sometimes, like you have a friend or someone and they have this new restaurant chain, like for example, the broker that represents, let's say Panda Express. Well, how many hundreds of Panda Expresses are there? So for example, like if you work in retail, every year, like twice a year, there's a big retail conference. Okay? And the retail conference you go to have all the nation's retailers there. And then that's like you get to meet all the different retailers. And if you have projects, you say, hey, there's this new shopping center. Are you interested? So there's things that, the retail guys do. Does that make sense? And that's retail. So that's commercial leasing. Okay? For example, Chris Campbell. You'll start probably see them all there everywhere, right? Chris Campbell, Scott Caruth, those guys. They represent full shopping centers. Million square foot shopping centers. Every time that you have someone that wants to go into that shopping center, you represent the tenant, they represent the landlord every single time. What if you get to the point where you are representing the shopping center? Does that make sense? What if you get to the point where you're representing the shopping center? Then it's amazing. Because that shopping center will have tenants going in and out all the time. And every time it goes in, you make a commission. Does that make sense? So that's leasing. Okay? And of course, in class, there's going to be a final certification exam. Not really a real tough exam, but it's tough enough where you have to know the basics. Your first 3 deals, I would walk you through it anyways. Okay? And we just share the deal with you, and then after that, then you can handle your own deals, and you have a separate split for that. Okay? All right. So let's keep going here. Okay, let's go to the commercial basics. How commercial real estate could change your life. Okay, starting a career in real estate. You know, there's a lot of reasons why people get into real estate. You know, I think commercial real estate, you know, and in commercial real estate, one of the things you have to understand is the angle. The angle in which you want to be in this business, okay? You know, and you want to understand sort of what is the future for you in this business. Okay, if you're not sort of clear on what you want to do, the other people that do commercial real estate, they're going to eat you up alive. Okay, like for example, you know, in residential, you can fool around and close a deal here and there for your mom or your dad or whatever. For commercial, you sort of need to know what you're doing. Okay, because the people in commercial, they've been a lot longer than a part-time real estate agent. You know how like realtors you could have like, you know, pretty part-time people that sort of don't know what they're doing, right? Can you imagine representing a $25 million building and not sort of know what you're doing? It's sort of iffy, right? Well, the great thing is I know what I'm doing, for sure, okay? Because I've been doing it for so many 20-some years, and I've been, but I do it at a higher level because I have to watch everyone's deals. So everyone's deals is my deals, basically, because I have to watch everything and I have to answer all the questions. And so your first minimum 3 transactions, I'll work with you on it and help you through it so you don't look like a rookie. You just do the legwork, and I'll draft up the LOI, and I'll talk directly with the other broker so you don't seem like you're new. It's funny that the few deals that we have with one of the agents in Lodi, the moment they talk to the broker calls me up and says, "I will not work with this person." You know, they don't know anything. So then I got in and we ended up closing them. Okay, and everything was smooth. All right. But here's the thing. It's funny because I think I'll go over the numbers in a little bit. The average income nationwide for agents, you know, real estate agents, you know, because you know you have a lot of part-time people, right? And you have a lot of full-time people, but for everyone combined, real estate averages like $50,000-$60,000 a year. Okay, average for commercial is in the $500,000 range, $400,000 to $500,000 range, average. Does it make sense? So people that really do a lot of commercial make normally 10 times more than one agent, on average. You have agents in commercial that become billionaires. Does it make sense? Now, not millionaires, billionaires. You know, I have someone that I know that brokered a casino in Vegas with a group from China, and they were sort of rookies. You know, they didn't even know what they're doing, but they did it. A lot of money in China. Okay, but the casino was almost $1 billion. Casino was almost $1 billion, and because they brokered the deal, they got everything together. I think they made 10% on the deal. How do you like they get a $100 million commission on one transaction? Does it make sense? So, I mean, Palmer Capital, Bill Palmer, I'm sure, is darn near close to a billionaire now. Okay? Darn near close to a billionaire now. So when you play this game, it's like, you know, those people who are hedge fund managers. You know, sad that there's one hedge fund billionaire right now who's going to go to jail soon. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys have been watching CNN, but I mean, there's people in the cabinet that's quitting because of this thing, right? But there's a hedge fund manager who's a billionaire, and a lot of people are going to end up getting in trouble over this. But you know, hedge fund manager. You know what the hedge fund managers do? All they do is manage a fund. When you get into that world, all he does is manage a fund. You know what a fund is? Is people, rich people getting their money together and investing into stuff. That's what a fund is. Does it make sense? You know? Well, commercial real estate, in a way, at that level. Commercial real estate at that level. Does it make sense?
I was just curious because when you said understand the angle in which you want to work in this business, like were you talking about like whether we're going to be someone who's like a lease expert, or
Yeah.
like a warehouse guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because in this business, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it, and you're going to take it seriously, you got to understand the angle in which you work. Okay? Like for example, there's people that just specialize in multifamily. Okay? There's people that specialize in gas stations. I remember when I was with Coldwell Banker, Ken Reef, who's still around right now, You know, this guy basically only does gas stations. So he knows everything about all the aspects of gas stations. He knows all the owners of the gas stations. He always knows, you know, early on who wants to sell their gas station. And before they even say, I want to sell my gas station, he has 10 people who'd like to buy that gas station. So almost every single one of his deals is double-ended transactions, all pocketed, pocket listing, never comes up on the market. All he does is take ownership from one person and gets it to another person, and the person that wants to sell their gas station, they're happy, they have the money in their pocket. The person buying, they're happy because they have income. That's it. Does it make sense? So in this business, you know, if you're just a general commercial agent, you know, you don't really have an angle. You don't really understand what your angle is. I'm sure Ethan Conrad really understands his angle. Does it make sense? You know what Ethan Conrad was? You know, do you know what he was? Ethan Conrad. Huh? No. Ethan Conrad started off as a commercial real estate agent. Ethan Conrad. He started as a commercial real estate agent, broker. But when he was a broker, these are the properties he owns in this area. These are the little circles of all the commercial properties he owns. He owns 4,300,000 square feet of retail property. He owns 1,800,000 square feet of office space. He owns 1,200,000 of industrial space. He owns a total of 7.4 million square feet of property. At the very minimum, 1 square feet he owns is at least worth $150. Minimum. It could go up to $1,000 a square feet. But at the minimum, you know, 1 square feet. I mean, a home is worth $150 a square feet, right? When we sell homes, right? $150 a square feet. 3,000 square foot home is $450,000. You know, barely. That's $150 a square feet. You know, you can't buy a 3,000 square foot home for $300,000, can you? That's at $100 a square feet. These are shopping centers he owns here. Bare minimum $150 to $200 a square feet, and he owns 7 million square feet. At $100 a square feet, he's worth $744 million. Okay, at 200 square feet, he's worth $1.4 billion. And I think he's a billionaire. You know, and the thing is that, you know where he got his start? He only started his company 20 years ago. Okay? You know, he really got his start. Now he owns 145 properties. You know, these are his tenants. And he got started as an agent. As an agent that understood angles. You know what angle he understood? He understood, wow, there's a lot of properties where people mismanage them. I'm just going to buy them as fixer-uppers. You don't need to own 170 properties. You own 1, you're pretty good for the rest of your life. Does it make sense? You guys understand that? When you start playing this game, you're playing this game at the highest level. Real estate has no higher level in this game than commercial real estate. There's no higher level of game. Make sense? You know, some people are property managers, some people are residential agents. There's no higher level than this game. I mean, I had an agent that just touched the deal for commercial real estate, made $200,000. It's just like, touched it, got made $200,000. So when you're in this business, you got to take it serious, but you know who the players are in it. Does it make sense? Okay. Okay, so all right, so let's go here. Oh, slideshow, there you go. All right, so commercial real estate, different animals. These are the type of industries that are available in this business. You know, there's office, there's retail, there's industrial, institutional, investments, and resort recreational. All right. So what does this all mean? I'll give you an example. Okay. You know, office is office. All right. So you deal with office complexes and so forth. Retail is what the restaurants, what the stores, you know, what they go into. That's retail. Okay? All right? Like office, have different categories of office. We'll go into them. You know, there's medical offices, there's different types of offices. Okay? The retail, you know, are the fast foods, the Apple stores, okay? And then we're going to go into all aspects of retail, you know, like from the small strip centers to all the way to the big strip malls, the big super centers, and we'll power centers, you know, like in retail, you got to understand anchors, you know, not an anchor that where a boat has an anchor. Anchors is Walmart anchored space, or you know, a Costco anchored space, you know. Like for example, like in retail, one of the things you'll have to understand is like, you know, like if like the cost to rent a space next to a Costco is a lot different than the cost renting a space with no anchor. Does that make sense? Because of the type of traffic that comes in because of the anchor. You know, if you have a Costco in your area, everyone in the area is going to go there. If you're right next to a Susie's nail salon, the whole area don't go there. Does that make sense? So the cost that you pay to be next to Costco in a shopping center that shares the parking lot of Costco is different than the cost that you would pay to go in something that wasn't anchored. So it's funny because, for example, you'll have a super center. Name me in Sacramento a few super centers.
Target, Walmart.
Okay, no, those are anchors. But name me a super center, a name of a super center.
Art Mall.
Okay, Art Mall is a regional mall.
Like a power center? Same.
Like a power center. Let's say, for example, anyone know Natomas? You know Natomas, they have that Regal Center with the Regal Theater?
Oh, yeah.
And then there's a Home Depot there, you know, and then there's a PetSmart, and there's an In-N-Out there. See, that's like a super center. You know, super centers, you know, have hundreds of thousands of square feet, okay? Well, that's now the new Delta Shores is a super center, right? The Delta Shores, right? So that's a lot bigger than this little regional center, right? The little tiny strip mall, right? Okay, that has a hair salon and a nail salon and a you know, like a little restaurant, right? Thai restaurant, whatever. That's not a super center. Okay, so like for example, Walmarts are very smart. They know Walmarts bring a lot of value to a super center. So outside of the ones that they're building themselves, okay. Before, if you built a super center and you want a Walmart anchor, then you would build your super center, and then you would just carve one big spot for Walmart. And you would contact Walmart and sell them that spot for dirt cheap. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like for example, all of Walmarts are owned by Walmart. Not all of PetMart is owned by PetMart. Does that make sense? But because Walmart's there, the big other stores come in. Oh, PetSmart, Party City, all those guys want to come in, right? So normal developers, when in their development, they're going to develop this 100,000 square foot pad for an anchor. And they're going to make that anchor spot super cheap. And they're going to contact the Walmart in their development phase and say, how would you guys like to be there? This is our drawing. This is the center. It's going to be 250,000 square feet center. And we have 100,000 square feet carved for you. If you're interested, we'll sell you the 100,000 square feet pad or the whole building already built to suit. You buy that. Because Walmart won't rent. Does it make sense? Walmart won't rent. Okay? So if you want a Walmart or now a Home Depot or whoever, you want one of them in your center, let's say you build this huge center and you put two anchors in that center, like you put a Home Depot and a Walmart in that center, then you got to carve it out and sell it to both of them. Does that make sense? But boy, even though you don't own the pad that Walmart's on or the pad where Home Depot is on, every other pad, all the other 65 pads that you own is worth 3-4 times more. You guys understand that? Because it's anchored by a big tenant like that. You see?
In Citrus Heights, there's a Costco and a Super Walmart, and after all the years that it's been empty in the front, they are now all being developed, and I'm sure restaurants or others.
Oh yeah, everywhere. And so the developer of that hit a home run and they got an anchor to go in there. Does that make sense? They hit a home run. See, so in this kind of business, if you understand that game, oh man. Like for example, there was a deal I was helping Manjinder with, even though his client ended up not doing it. You know, the deal was for a 150 unit apartment complex. You know, with the cost of the land and building all 150 units, you're looking at maybe like a 15 to 17 million dollar build. But when everything was said and done, it would have been worth $28 million.
50.
Huh?
50. Still
No.
listed.
Huh?
In Algro.
$50 million? No, I think 28 is more like it, 28 to 32. But now with the rents going up, it might be worth 35 or 40. But the thing is that those are the type of things that but that's called development. You understand development. Does it make sense? You understand development. So you can do, if you understand retail development, and you know all the anchors. So in this business, once you get your angle started, then you got to stick to it, because it takes you a couple of years to sort of really start understanding that angle. It'll take you 2 or 3 years of your time invested into understanding who all the players are. It takes you 2 or 3 years of visiting all the going to the trade shows. All right, but what's a 2 or 3 year investment when if you're pretty darn good at what you do, you can be making $1 million a year for the rest of your life that you work it. Does that make sense? See, in residential is all the same game almost. It's all a home, right? It's almost all the same game. It's all a home. It's all a listing. It's all a sale. So it don't take you 5-6 years to be good at it. Sometimes you get good at it after first, second, third deal, right? But there's a disadvantage to sort of being a pretty easy game. Residential is a pretty easy game to play. So because it's a pretty easy game to play, it's like learning how to play tic-tac-toe versus chess, right? You know, everyone wants to play it. And so guess what? The discounters come in. When the game is pretty easy to play, then the discounters can play the game. You know, those help you sell, help you own, I'll take $1,000 to list your home. I'll put your home, you can sell it yourself for sell by owner. Give me $500, I'll put it on MLS for you. It's that type of game. Does it make sense? Because it's somewhat an easy game to play. Commercial is not easy at all. Make sense? So because you're getting into a higher level game, this game will never be disrupted. Does it make sense? You don't see Redfin, I'll list your property for 1%. I'll list it for $500. You don't see that in commercial. Does that make sense? Okay, you don't see that. The commission split at CB Richard 50-50. That's it. You don't want to work? We have 1,000 people that want to take your spot. Okay? Over here, I pay much more than that. And with Berkshire Hathaway. I think with Berkshire Hathaway, you could become a game changer. Because, this is what I think. You see, you got to understand something. In this game called commercial real estate, the brand is the most important thing. They even had a questionnaire to all the clients in the United States. What's the most important thing when making your decision to choose CB Richard Ellis or JLL? And they said the brand. Because I'm dealing with a $50 million transaction, got to have a brand. I can't deal with John Smith. If they mess up, John Smith can't give me $50 million mess up. So the brand is everything when it comes to that. So now that Berkshire Hathaway is stepping into the game, every single one of you playing the game on even level with CB Richard Ellis. But CB Richard Ellis, good luck getting hired by that company. You think Chris Campbell can give you his spot? He's making $10, $20 million a year. You think he can give you his spot? You can come in there serving sandwiches for the next 10, 15 years. No, and that's the truth. You guys understand that? You guys understand that? Good luck trying to get into CB Richard
Even
Ellis.
you call him, he return call after 3 weeks.
Yeah. He won't call you back for 3 weeks. And if you call you back, you're lucky. You feel honored getting a call back. You know, it's like, it's so funny. If you ever deal in commercial real estate, you got to make like 10 phone calls to get one call back on average. It's just the way it is. Okay? So you got to work your way into the game. It is an old boy network for sure. Does that make sense? You got to work your way into the game. Okay? There's a lot of legwork to start out. You got to start, calling on the owners of the shopping complexes, and you got to call the owners of the multifamily homes, of the apartment complexes. Okay, so that's what retail is. Institutional, industrial, or warehouses. That's industrial. Okay, institutional or the schools, the schools, the government, dealing with the hospitals. There's people that specialize in just that. Special use properties, gymnasiums, schools. You know what I'm saying? All right, there's people that specialize in just institutional. There's people, investments is like construction, invest in, build. Okay. All right, and then finally resort and recreational. Resort, recreation, hotel, motels. Like for example, you work with families, and they buy a lot of hotels, motels. That's a big business. Hotel, motel. Does that make sense?
Mostly the same family.
And it's a lot of people from the same culture.
Right.
A lot of Patels. Yeah, a lot of Patels. A lot of Patels. Okay. So that's and then those are resort recreational. So these are all different industries. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about a little bit. Today I'm talking about more of the commercial basics. All right. Sort of choosing what you sort of want to work in. Next week we get down and dirty into a lot more detailed commercial. Okay. All right. So this part is called Build Your Fortune. General brokerage. So basically, I think most people, when you sort of start out, you're going to start out sort of touching a little bit of everything called general brokerage. Okay. You'll be selling, listing commercial real estate. You'll be meeting businesses. The funny thing is that commercial transactions sometimes are actually a lot easier to find than a residential transaction. And this is why. Okay? Because there's a lot fewer commercial people out there. All right? Raise your hand if any of you are related to a commercial real estate agent expert. Anyone related to one? You related to one? Who?
Ken Fong.
Huh? And where are they at?
All over Sacramento.
Are they in Sacramento?
Yeah.
Who? Okay. How many of you have a close, dear friend who's a commercial expert? Maybe 2 or 3. Okay. Now raise your hand if you know, other than yourself, someone in the family that does residential real estate. Raise your hand. Just regular homes. Almost everybody. Raise your hand if you know, if you couldn't represent yourself, you know of another agent. All of you, right? Well, that's the same as the general public, guys. To be honest with you, that's the same as the general public. You guys understand that? The general public knows a lot of realtors. Okay? The general public hey, I want to list my home. Oh, I could go anywhere. I could go Purple Fin, I could go Purple Bricks, I could go Redfin, I could go to Zillow, I could go anywhere. Everywhere I go, I could find a realtor. You can't say the same thing for commercial. Does that make sense? You can't say the same thing for commercial. Not a lot of people know commercial people. Raise your hand if you know a commercial loan officer that can help you with an SBA 7A loan. Raise your hand if you want a 7A loan for commercial. Raise your hand if you know someone. Oh, one person. Raise your hand if you a 504C loan. Raise your hand if you know what a 504C loan is. Okay, there, see? See? Raise your hand if you've heard of a conventional 30-year loan or FHA loan. Yeah, I've heard of that. I know 10 loan officers. Oh, I go to Ditech. I go to Quicken. Raise your hand if you got an SBA 504C loan. Now raise your hand if you know who does that every day. Oh, I don't know. Does it make sense? You see? I don't know what a 7A loan is or a 504C loan. I don't know what that is. Okay? Well, I do. See, so the thing is that one of the things, believe it or not, when you're in commercial, you have a lot less competition. But your competition are pros. Make sense? But the good news is they're pros that won't return your call for 3 weeks. Because they have so much business. And that's the truth. Okay? So, if you do commercial, believe it or not, if you're good at what you do, you don't have a lot of competition. And there's not a lot of brands to compete with. If you're Berkshire Hathaway, we're competing with 3 other brands for a deal. So, hey, I'm Berkshire Hathaway. Oh, hey, I'm Colliers. Hey, I'm Cushman and Wakefield. Hey, I'm CBRE. Choose one. If you're talking to 30 clients who's choosing, and each client, if all separated in the same direction, each person got their fair share, if there's 40 deals, you should get 10 of them. Does that make sense? It's like luxury cars. It's like luxury cars. In your Dubai, if you're in Dubai and everyone's buying a luxury car, there's only like 5 or 6 brands to choose from. There's Mercedes, there's BMW, there's Audi. If you're really high end, there's Rolls Royce and Bentley. What else? You're not going to buy a Hyundai. Does it make sense? So because of that, if you are one of the main brands like Berkshire Hathaway, I think you'll do well. Does it make sense? I think you'll do fine. If you continue to tell people that you're Berkshire Hathaway. If you call yourself, I'm John Smith, you never heard of me before, but I want your business, then I don't think they'll choose you. But you give hey, I'm Berkshire Hathaway. We're with Warren Buffett's $800 billion company. We're the number one, we're the number 3 brand in the world. We're a global company. So if we list your shopping center, we list it to the world. It's global. Oh, okay, I'll give you a shot. I was thinking of giving Colliers a shot, but I've heard of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. I don't see Colliers anywhere in the top 30 here. You're number 3. Yeah, I'm going to go with you. See, that's the advantage. Does it make sense? So when you're commercial, definitely you got to sell the brand. They're never going to choose you, the individual. Okay? In homes, they'll choose you just because you're a relative. In commercial, they don't care about relative. They care about brand. Okay? Who are you? All right? So that's how it works. Okay? So there's leasing, retail, office, industrial, investments. We're going to go through that. Okay, development. Let's talk about development a little bit. Today's the general overview. Okay. People that have the time, development makes very good money. Development makes very good money. Because, like, for example, if that deal with Manjinder worked out, there would have been 3 ways that he could have made money. The first way is the actual development itself. The development and the construction loan. We're going to do both the construction loan and the development. Okay? The first way to make money is the actual development itself. Okay? The development has a financing stage to it. Okay? The negotiation stage and the studies. Okay? I'm going to go into that a little bit more in depth today as you're taking notes, all right? And like I said, if you don't take notes, you're not going to remember any of this, okay? But development, for a long time was my favorite aspect of real estate, okay? To give you a general idea of development, okay? Development is taking nothing, just a piece of land, and turning it into something. The beauty is, though, is that in real estate, I want you to understand, in commercial real estate, everything has to do with cash flow. Okay? In development, everything has to do with cash flow. If you can understand a property's cash flow, then you will clearly understand a property's value. Okay? So I want you to understand that about development. If you can understand cash flow, you can understand value. Okay? Okay? So, example. When you're in development, you take a raw piece of land. Okay? One of the first things that you determine is what is the best use and what can possibly be used on that piece of land. Okay? Then overall, you'll find out, from an engineer. So whenever you start in development stage, there's there's going to be a good initial investment, and that initial investment deals with an architect and engineer, okay? And so I'm teaching you development 101 here, all right? When we go more into development, we have a whole day on development, but I'm giving you sort of like a preview of it. The engineer and the architect will put out a drawing, and that normally will cost $5,000 to $10,000 to get an initial drawing, okay? And if it's bigger, it's more than that. And then from that, because see, an architect and an engineer, and sometimes the architect and engineer is in the same firm, okay? They are the people who are going to tell you what you can and can't do on the property. Does that make sense? So you just don't all of a sudden, okay, this is what I want to build. No. The very first thing you do is you get a team, an architect, engineer together, and they get you over a drawing, okay? And no class teaches you this, okay? This is from actual doing. I built the whole center here, so I know, okay? And I built others, and so once you have what an architect and engineer allows you to do, then you could bid it out. You could get a pro forma together and you could bid it out a little bit, okay? And so you go to a company and a builder, and then they'll build it out for you, okay? They will bid it for you. And so you know the cost of the land, you know the cost of construction, and working with a good person that understands financing, you know the cost of borrowing money for construction, okay? So you know what the total cost of the project is going to be. So what you do is, once you determine what the total cost of the project is, then you figure out, well, what's the project worth when it's done? You just have to figure out what it's going to be worth when it's done. Well, I mean, if you're building an apartment complex, and apartments right now are renting for, let's say they're renting for $2,000 for a 1,000 square foot apartment, so it's $2 a foot. It's renting for $2 a foot, all right? And if you're building, so if you're building, let's say 300,000 square feet, then the apartment complex is going to be worth $300,000 times 200. Does that make sense? Okay? And so that's the value of your project. So let's say, for example, you're building 300,000 square feet. Well, let's say 100,000 square feet. You're building 100,000 square feet, and it's going to be worth $200, so $20 million. And so you know that at the end, by the time I'm done, I'm going to have 100,000 square feet of livable space. Okay? Right now, all the apartment complexes in that area are renting at $2 a foot. And mine is going to be brand new and nicer than these places. We're not going to run out of people who want to live. Does that make sense? Matter of fact, we're in a shortage. Does that make sense? So it's going to be worth $20 million when it's done. If I bought the land for $1.5 million, if it cost me $10 million to buy the land and build everything, then I'm going to build something that cost me $10 million, and I'm going to make $20 million from it. Does it make sense?
That's you're talking about the cash flow. The monthly cash flow would be $20 million.
No, the value, the overall value of the project. That's if you're buying to flip. But you need to know the end value because, see, the banks, okay, they want you to have around 30 to 35%, depending on the project. Some banks will allow 20, some banks will allow 30. Most banks are going to be 30 to 35% range. The banks normally want around 35% cash injection. You know what that means?
$5 million.
So if the total project is $10 million, that's including the cost of the land and financing, okay, then they want you to have $3.5 million. So if you bought the piece of land for cash for $1.5 million, they want you to put another $2 million into it. If you're ready, if you already got done with your permits, if you got done with your architect, whatever you've paid for permits, whatever you've paid to architects, whatever you paid to anything, they will count that as your cash injection to your project. Make sense? Normally, they will want to see around 30-35% of a cash injection into a project, unless the project really pencils out very well. If the project is a $20 million, if you can show that it's going to be worth $20 million, and it only costs you $10 million to build, there's banks that will say, okay, you know what, this is a really nice project, all we're asking is a 20% cash injection. So it could be that you bought it for $1.5 million, you already spent $500,000 in permits and some studies and engineering and so forth. That's it. You're ready to go. The bank will give you the rest of the money to finish off. Does that make sense? I've even run into people who are very creative. The project pencils out so well that they get with an owner, and the owner deeds the property to the project. Not deed it, but the owner basically says, you know what, we'll co-develop this. The owner of the property is worth $2 million, and so it could be, it costs $10 million to build. When it's done, it's worth 20. Let's say the land is worth $2 million, and the bank likes it. No money need to come out of anyone's pocket. If the property, if the seller owns a property paid off free and clear, seller can say, hey, I'll give you a first on this property, and that's it. You can run with it, and they'll give you the rest of the money to build out. I have seen so many people become multi-millionaires, if not billionaires, using simply equity to fund a development project. Does it make sense? If it's a good project. I've seen people use equity to do it. Does it make sense? And then the seller or the person now, so you go to them and say, hey, look, your land, you're not doing anything with it, you own it free and clear. You know, why don't we develop something on it and we just be co-developers on it? You know what I'm saying? You know, I have some money. Maybe they'll say, well, seller, you don't have any skin in the game. The seller's just putting up their equity. You have no money in it. So you put $1 million into it, and then we'll take the project. So now you have 30%. But 20% is in equity. Does it make sense? So there's a lot of things that very creative people, you know, a lot of things that they've been really creative, you know, to get deals into development, deals funded into development. Does it make sense? Now, as an agent, if you really understand this development game very well, okay, a lot of times, you know, the commission on development is, you know, 5 or 6%. So you're making 5 or 6% of the $10 million, which is $500,000-$600,000. But in development, normally it's not uncommon to get draws. Does that make sense? So if it's a 3-year project, and you know at the end of 3 years you have $600,000 coming, it's not uncommon to get $10,000 a month in draw. And the draws are paid directly from the bank that lends the money. Does it make sense?
To the agent?
To the agent. Because then you work in the capacity of a construction manager to watch over the project. Does that make sense? So it's not uncommon if you know you have $600,000 coming to collect $10,000 a month for 3 years. And then at the very end, you get the remaining. Make sense? Yeah, you know, 5 or 10,000. That's the draw. That's your draw. You know, so as it's going, because, you know, I mean, if you're working on a project and helping it go through, you can't get nothing in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? Right? You can't have nothing. Yeah, $600,000 3 years from now. You know, right? So it's a draw, and the banks are very accustomed to it. It's like, you know, here's my agent, here's my construction manager. Boom, this is your draw, $5,000-$10,000 a month for the next 3 years, and then at the end you get your lump sum. Make sense? Okay. So one way of making money is actual development. Is the project manager. So as a project manager on a deal, you're the one that got the deal together. You're the one that is calling the engineers, architects, the trends, contractors. You'll be assisting them going to the city planning, and seeing if there's anything any kind of letters we need to write, or any kind of changes you need to make on the plans. You know what I'm saying? The meetings are few and far between. There's not a lot of meetings. A meeting once a month, maybe once every couple months. You just go to the meeting and see what the answer is, and you go take it back to the engineers and architects. And a lot of times, the engineers and architects are there with you. Make sense? If you're collecting $10,000 a month, you can make it to one meeting a month. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you can make it to one meeting a week even. Does it make sense?
So, just so I know, clear. So the agent who's coordinating all these things, getting the attorney together, bringing everyone in the room, writing the emails, that person would typically be the project manager.
Yeah, the project manager. They're the one that got everything together. Make sense?
Yeah.
You're the project manager. You're the one that got the engineer, the architect. You make sure the engineer and the architect. Sometimes it's two different companies. I know a lot of them. And you get the contract together, and, get 3 or 4 contracts, submit their bids. That's what we do. It's just coordinating everyone, making sure that, hey, guys, we have a meeting just to go over the project. Everyone, make sure you're here. We'll do lunch. And you just talk about the project with the owner. Okay, here where we're at. You know what I'm saying? You're the one coordinating with a finance company. Hey, we're scheduled for another draw here. So, you get your draw, but then there's disbursements to the contractor, disbursements to engineering. So you gather all the things to make sure everyone's paid. That's it.
Is there any binding contract and where to get it?
What?
Is there a binding contract between the project manager and the owner?
Yeah. Yeah, when you get to that point, I'll help you get it.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. All right. Don't just start writing them up right now, okay? You have no clue what you're doing. It's all in. Just so you know, in commercial, we have our own special forms. Okay, in commercial, we have our own special forms. Okay? All
They're
right.
not waiting forms?
No, they're not on the form. Okay? In commercial, we have our special forms. It's a whole new world. Like in commercial, like for example, I'm a member of CoStar. Who's heard of CoStar before? Yeah. So I have CoStar. Okay? Most people, if you're amateur, you use LoopNet. But if you're professional, you use CoStar. Make sense?
A lot more info.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So that's the difference. Okay. And then when you're all done with the project management, then comes the leasing of it. If you're the one that helped in the building of the shopping center or the building of the multifamily or the office building, then hopefully they like you enough to let you go ahead and help lease them all out. Does that make sense? Hopefully they'll like you enough to help you lease them all out. And then you represent them in that way, in that capacity.
But there's no guarantee, so
No?
if you've been doing all this stuff already, you should
Yeah.
talk to the owner about being the project manager.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay? So and then at Berkshire, we can handle it all. So that's where you start building your fortune. Okay? That's where you start building that. Okay. All right. No, these are old statistics. I need to update my statistics. I've been teaching this class since 2004. So just so you know, I've been teaching this for 20 years now. So I already had a lot of experience before I started teaching this. But people are making over $500,000 a year, okay, all the way back then. Now they make more than that. Okay, but 50% of commercial agents have been in the business for more than 16 years. When you're in commercial real estate and you've been doing it, people don't normally get out of it. Okay? 65% of commercial agents specialize in a specific commercial area. 65% of commercial agents specialize in a specific area of real estate. Okay, specific area of real estate. Okay? Okay. All right. Tools of the trade. You have to have good software, good calculator, good website. Be with a good company. Okay. And these are the people that normally in commercial you will have access to. Okay. So more so than in residential, it's very important for you to know people. And these are the people that you will normally know in the commercial industry. Accountants, are very important to know in commercial real estate. The reason why accountants are very important to know in commercial real estate is because they're the ones that are going to get your client's finances in order for them to qualify to buy or lease anything. Okay? You know, it's funny, but when you're in commercial real estate, you have to have a very good knowledge of the math involved in this business. Okay? All right? More so than in residential real estate. You have to be good with the commercial math. And we have a whole section and a whole full day dedicated to commercial math. Okay? We have a whole day dedicated to that. Net operating income, cap rates, debt service coverage ratios. We're going to go a whole day through math. Okay? And the reason why there's a lot of math involved is because everything in commercial has to do with the ability for someone to qualify to buy a building, to get a loan for the building, to qualify just to lease the building. It's all about the numbers and all about the ability for the client to pay. Does it make sense? It's all about the ability for client to pay. And so because of that, you need also good accountants, because once you get to higher level transactions, they want audited financial statements. They'll want specific things. The good thing, though, is that a lot of clients that we work with are sophisticated. No, they're not first-time home buyers. And when you own buildings and when you want to buy a building and stuff like that, normally the people you work with are just more sophisticated. They probably already have their CPAs, unless they're out of country and they don't have local CPAs, then we have our local CPAs, okay? Appraisers, especially with commercial, you need to know appraisers. We have plenty of them, okay? Attorneys to either draft up contracts, to look at certain situations. Like for example, one of the commercial gas stations that we just dealt with, at the very end of the deal came and we ran into liens at the very end that we had to get attorneys quickly involved in to get those liens taken care of. You know what I'm saying? All right. You got to know engineers and architects. When you're in this business, you have to know engineers and architects. Okay. The reason why is a lot of times in commercial real estate, we deal with a lot of engineers and architects, is that when you're dealing with leasing, then whoever goes into a property, let's say, for example, you're a gas station, or not your gas station, you're a restaurant. Well, when they go into leasing a spot, they have to hire engineers and architects to draw up the TI plan. You know what I'm saying? And they have to draw up the plans for tenant improvements. Okay? When you deal with development, of course, you have to deal with a lot of engineers and architects. When you deal with a sale of a building or a purchase of a building, whoever buying the building will want to do certain things in the building. And so you have to get engineers and architects involved to make sure that they can do what they want to do. Does that make sense? So engineers and architects are whereas in real estate, we just know contractors, but we don't really know engineers and architects, okay? In commercial, we deal with engineers and architects. And of course, land planners, which normally are the engineers, but some people are just land planners who are engineers. Okay, the land planner would have been good to have before he bought that piece of land for $1 million. Does that make sense? Because the land planner would have told you right away, you can't do nothing on it. Except raise cattle. Right? Like for example, I'll give you an example of how exciting commercial real estate can be. I'm not gonna say who did the project, but this was a project, and the project was called El Dorado Hills. The project a long time ago was called El Dorado Hills. Okay, and I'm not gonna go over like the real specifics of the project, but because it's been so long, I forgot all the numbers for it. But the thing is that years and years and years ago, it was a desolate mountain, right? Let's say this area is El Dorado Hills, and it's just a desolate mountain, right? But then someone had the genius idea, and the land was owned by government, but had this genius idea, say, hey, there's an area, Sacramento, it's building, but we want more of a high-end kind of atmosphere. There's a Folsom there, there's a Roseville there, there's an Orangeville there. Let's start this thing called El Dorado Hills. Does that make sense? And we'll just put homes on hills and put a big golf course in there. So let's say, for example, and I'm not talking specifics, all right? But you could say, okay, the developer comes in and says, Mr. Government, I have a plan, and I want to call it El Dorado Hills, and you own most of this land and this mountain, but you're not using it. So what if I were to develop that land? I'll pay you, and I think it was like, I'll pay you $1 million. Okay, for all that land that no one's using. But in return, you allow me to do 50% residential, and let's say this is 1,000 acres. Let's say 1,000 acres. So you allow me to do 500 acres of residential. You allow me to split up 200 acres into commercial, and of course it's like in pockets like that, so it can feed the whole area. Okay, we will do 100 acres back to for government. We'll do 100 and government and schools and police stations and all that. We do 100 acres for office, and we'll do another 100 acres for miscellaneous. Okay, whatever. See, or parks and whatever, but that's mostly government. Parks and all that stuff is there. Okay, for like public use. Okay, public. And so you bought this parcel for $1 million, but the goal is them allowing you to get 500 acres for commercial, for residential. Then you take these pieces and you sell it for, let's say you sell it for $50,000 an acre. Okay, let's say you sell it for $50,000 an acre. So I'm doing my math here. 500 times $50,000 an acre is $25 million to the builders, like Lennar, right? Like Lennar, like KB, Kaufman and Broad, like Beezer, right? So you take this and you start piecing it out, selling it for $50,000 an acre, untitled, just flat land, untitled. They let them do all the underground, let them do whatever, and you guys made $25 million just here. Then commercial is normally around $300,000 an acre minimum. So you have another 200 acres of commercial times $300,000 an acre. You have $60 million right here.
You're just talking like paper lots.
Yeah, not even lots, just the bare land. They'll turn it into their own lots. Paper lots worth a lot more than $50,000 an acre. Paper lot 150. Sometimes paper lot worth $500,000 an acre. Like like in Granite Bay, you don't think people sell 1 acre lots for like $500,000? They do, right? When it becomes a paper lot, then it's worth a lot. Okay,
So I guess
this is bare land. Okay.
There's more risk to them, right?
Yeah, well, that's why they get it for $50,000 an acre. Because if they could get 8 homes to an acre, man, they're getting each lot for like $5,000-$6,000, right? Paper lot costs a lot more than that. So $60 million for commercial, $25 million here, and then who knows how much is here. This is dedicated back to the government. And then now they're collecting property taxes on all that when they start being constructed. You see? So what we're talking about is that this is on a big scale. But on a small scale, like if people are in land planning and land development, it's called entitlements. Okay, if you're into entitlements, man, there's land guys. Okay? There's land guys. Because this is how the city works. And taking this class, like for me, when I teach you, it's almost like I have no filter. So what it means is that I'm sharing you ideas and techniques that's turned people into billionaires. For example, in Sacramento, there is a developer called AKT. Okay, for people who know this business, we say AKT, but for those who haven't heard of it, it's Angelo Tsoukalos. Have you heard of that name? Angelo Tsoukalos? Okay. Well, Tsoukalos, it was a part of a family, it was a Greek family, a Greek farming family. And a long time ago, their family just had all farms throughout this area, farms. But this is what happens to a city as it grows. Let's say this is a city center, right? Any city. This is a city center. Well, as a city grows, okay, it puts out a plan, okay? This could be a 5-year plan, this could be a 15-year plan, and this could be a 25-year plan, right? So, just so you know, every city has a plan, right? Is that right? Okay? Every city has a plan. Okay? And they put out a plan of where they're going to be. So let's say example, okay? Your parcel sits right here in their 5-year plan, or then another parcel sits right here in a 15-year plan. There's people that all of a sudden the 5-year come up, their parcel sits right here, and their parcel is an agricultural farm. Does that make sense? They're ag. Ag is sometimes $3,000 an acre or less. That's ag. Does it make sense? You know, you could buy a 20-acre farm for sometimes $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 an acre. You understand? Okay? But what they don't understand is the 5 years just came up and the city, but not always, this is the case, they said this is our plan. But then they say, hey, of our plan, this is the plan that we're going to execute right now. This one we're just going to hold off. We might push that to the 15-year plan. But when they put out the actual plan and you fall into this area, there are people that are very smart. They'll pull up every parcel and start walking and sending letters to the people that fall into this range. And they say, oh, how would you like to sell your property to me? Okay? How would you like to sell your 20 acres to my client for $300,000? Okay? And then they sell it for $300,000, and then you turn around and rezone it and re-entitle it to RD5, which is residential 5, which is medium density housing. That means that you can put 5 homes on 1 acre. So RD5 as raw land is easily worth $50,000 an acre. Okay, easily. $50K an acre. So your 20 acres, okay, all of a sudden became $1 million. So what you just bought for $300 became $1 million. Does that make sense? So your 300 just became $1 million. Not bad. But you said, well, I'm not going to stop here. This is, if city allows me to turn it into RD5, almost immediately it's worth from 300 to 1 million. Almost immediately. But you say, I'm going to spend that extra 100K myself, and I'm going to hire a planner, engineer, and architect, and I'm going to get myself a tentative map. And that's what you're saying, paper lots, right? So they're going to build the subdivision. They're going to take the land, they're going to prepare how to get to the land, they're going to prepare, engineering documents on how, where the septic tank is going to connect. Is it going to be city? Is it going to be a well? they're going to put everything on paper. Nothing's done. You know, like underground's not done. Okay? Streets aren't improved. Nothing's done. This is called paper lots, right? So we're at that point where it's all on paper. The plan is on paper. It could be that the developer who buys it don't even like the paper lots. They take it, they tear up all that, get their own architect and redraw it to what they like better. Does that make sense? But at least it's at that point where it's paper lots. So now instead of selling it for $50,000 an acre, you're selling it for, let's say you got an RD5, now you're selling it for $25,000 per paper lot. So if there was 20 acres, with 5 per acre, you have 100 lots at $25,000 per lot. Now you sell the project for $2.5 million because you're able to get it past the tentative map stage. Does it make sense? Right? Let's say we went beyond that. Let's say we went beyond that. Let's say you had $1 million to spend. Let's say you had another $1 million to spend. Right? You had another $1 million to spend. For what? For the street? Okay, for the sewer? For everything, for the fiber cables underground. So all you're doing is you're getting everything under the ground. Everything you're doing is now under the ground. Right? You put some street lights in there. Right? You put the actual concrete for the street. You spend $1 million for that. Okay? So now you have finished lots. Finished lots. So a finished lot, let's say it's $50,000. A finished lot. Ready to build everything above ground. Right? So now your 100 lots finished is no longer, see, paper was 22.5 million, finished is 5 million. Does it make sense? You want to sell them as finished lots. Let's say you want to go beyond that. What's beyond that? Build it yourself. Does it make sense? There's people who are on the market, okay, for the rezoned piece of land that you could possibly sell for $1 million. You have a bad day, you sell it for 800, you sell buy it for 300, you sell for 800, you make $500,000. You're on a bad day, right? There's people that don't want to buy just the land. They don't want to go through the headache of taking it through the city. What if it doesn't pass? So you take the chance. You hire the engineers, right? Because your tentative plan has to get approved by the county, okay? So you take the chance. You hire the engineer. You hire the architect and the planners. And you take it to tentative map. That's approved by the city to do that. Make sense? Then you're 1 million and now 2.5 million. On a bad day, maybe you sell for 1.5 million. And it costs you 100 grand. So you take your 300,000, took you 200,000, let's say. It took you to get the tentative lot. So you sell for 1.5, it cost you 0.5, you make $1 million. Instead of 500, you make $1 million. For the extra 6 months, 8 months worth of work. You understand? Let's say, hey, I have extra money. I just did 3 projects. I have money sitting in the bank. So instead of selling it as tentative lots, paper lots, I'm just going to go ahead and do all the underground work. It's already in the drawing. I have my cash. I'm just going to do all the underground work. Because if I have the money and I'm willing to do all the underground work, then the less sophisticated investor can just buy and build. They don't want to deal with that. Does it make sense? But they're willing to pay more. The less, like Lennar, they just want the paper lots. Lennar, they might buy even without paper lots. You get it rezoned, they'll buy it. Because they're so big. They already have their whole team. But Mr. Lee, Chinese investor, you know, there's plenty of Chinese investors that go out there and build 40, 50 homes. You know, guys know that, right? There's plenty. They don't want to buy it before it's before it's tentative map. They don't even want to buy it as a tentative map. Because it's 100 lots. They don't want 100 lots. They only want to build on 20. They don't want to have to buy 100. They're not ready for that. So if you have the $1 million or $2 million, you go ahead and you do all the streets. You do all the streets. You do all the lights. You do all the underground work, all the plumbing, everything. Because when you do it for 100 lots, it's cheaper than if they buy 10 and do it all underground themselves. They can build a big street just to build 10 houses? No. So you do all the underground and you sell them as finished lots, right? They're finished lots. Then people pay a premium for finished lots. Maybe even $100,000 a lot, depending on. Does that make sense? And so that's entitlements. Some people, they make a fortune on entitlement. So you guys understand, like just in the hour and 2-hour class I've been teaching you, there was over 2 minutes left. How many angles did I give you? You see a lot of angles?
Yes.
You see all these angles? So doing them all is not an option.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Doing all of this is not an option. Does it mean give up your real estate career to focus on this? No, you need to make income somehow. Right? But if you want to be a true, if you want to really find wealth in the future, you find an angle. Hey, I'm going to start doing entitlements. I like it. That was intriguing. Well, that means you have to go to all the county planning meetings. It means that you have to pull up the planning department's forecast and where they want to be. You want to do. You like the development side of things. Yeah. Well, then you got to find projects. Oh hey, I want the leasing side of things. Well then, yeah, you got to go meet businesses, right? Meet businesses, especially chains. Meet chains. Like people who want to meet businesses. You know that there are new startup franchises all the time. You guys know that? There's new startup businesses all the time. New types of fast foods. Now Poke's a big thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's what people do. They go and they meet with chains that are developing already in other states, and they talk to the chains about taking their business to Sacramento in particular, or California. And then you could work with chains and help them with their expansion. Does it make sense? So every angle that you decide to like, every angle that you like, then find yourself that niche. Does that make sense? And get good with it. And you can make tons of money. Now I'll tell you something. There's a lot of room for you, the Berkshire Hathaway, agent, to find yourself a place in this. Because I bet you anything, in most niches, there is no Berkshire Hathaway agent there yet. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. In any of these niches, there's no Berkshire Hathaway agent there yet. I just started teaching this. So if you find yourself that niche in that area, you can make a killing. Does that make sense? You can make a killing in it. All right. So again, I'm sure you're not going to miss class next week. Okay. I'm taking roll. Okay. So if you have to miss 1 or 2 classes, then you gotta let me know. Okay. I'll see you guys. Make sure you guys sign in.
If you get a chance to go to post, find it out.